Now advantages of the glass. Already we have seen that this glass is a choice of material for various kind of sensitive type of dosage forms, especially for those dosage forms which are administered directly to the bloodstream, like your injections, injectables, as well as vaccines, sera, nasal dosage forms. So here glass are having the versatile advantages. That's why they are used for the particular type of dosage form. So they are specially strong as well as rigid compared to your plastics. And the main advantage of the glass is that they are transparent. So they can allows you visual inspection. You can inspect or you can check your contents even though we are packed into the glass containers. As well as your glass can be modified or we can convert it into the your required type of shapes, as well as we can modify it into the different type of sizes. And your glass is withstand at the various type of temperature as well as the pressure, and it supports to the various kind of sterilization process. Generally sterilization is carried out at the higher temperatures. So at the higher temperature, your glass is having the stability, so it will not break down. As well as glass is very much economical one compared to the your metallics, and readily available whenever it is required. In case of the photosensitivity of your drug, we can protect the drug even though in case of your glass containers by making it into the color type of glass. So we can avoid the entry of the sunlight or the light from your container. As well as your glass is not deteriorate or it won't become we can say unstable at the as the time span is goes. It means today suppose you have prepared your glass, it will be remain as it is throughout its life. There will not be any kind of we can say degradation of that glass. So these are the versatile advantages of the glass. That's why we are choosing most of time glass as a container. Now disadvantages of your glass. The glass is having the biggest disadvantage is that it is fragile in nature, or it can easily break down once it is fall down from the particular height, or it may get cracked because of the we can say your shakes or during the transportation. So it cannot withstand at the much more shakes or the suppose we are having some jerks, so it cannot absorb that jerk, so it will be easily cracked or it will be easily break down. Generally it is having the one another disadvantage, it is that it is having the heavier nature, so compared to the plastics as well as compared to the aluminum type of metallic materials, so your glass is required the we can say larger transportation cost because of its heaviness or the weightness. So these are the some disadvantages of the your glass. Now next is the regarding the plastic containers. Plastic containers are nowadays we can say by various types of industrialists have prepared especially for the child type of preparations, geriatric type of preparations. So these plastics are also having the versatile advantages, and we can say that it is another alternative to the glass. Previously, plastics were not utilized for the particular type of dosage form, but nowadays we are using the various kind of plastics or their analogs for the stocking your all kind of products. Plastics are synthetic polymers with the high molecular weight. Because of that high molecular weight, we are having the transparency, we are having the good stability of the plastics also. Plastics as a packaging have proved that they are useful because of the number of reasons. They are having the one advantage that there is the ease of utilization as well as ease of formulation of that plastic container into the different shape. At the normal temperature itself, we can convert your plastic into the different shape. But glass is required higher temperature for the manufacturing itself as well as for the molding itself. So that's why compared to the glass, your plastic container are easily formed or easily fragmented into your required shape, as well as with the your higher molecular weights we can maintain the required quality of your plastics as well as your glass. Plastic containers are extremely resistant to the breakage, so even though they are fall from the too much height, so they cannot break down as as your glass. So they are having the that kind of, we can say, advantage, and your product will be safe inside your container even though it is fall down at the particular height also. Generally, plastic are having the two types, that is the amorphous plastic and crystalline plastic. Amorphous plastic are nothing but they give the good transparency. They are very much transparent as your glass. They are hard but possess the little brittleness. They are more permeable to the gases and vapor, amorphous glass, and they are having the less inert in the nature. So amorphous plastics are having the transparency, but they are having the little bit brittleness. Brittleness means like your glass, they can maybe having the cracks when jerks are there. So as well as the amorphous plastics can permit the gases or the vapor from outside the environmental condition to the inside your product, or from product to the outside. Then crystalline plastics. Crystalline plastics are, since we can say, having the little bit advantage compared to the your amorphous type of plastics. For photosensitive drugs, this type of plastics are selected because crystalline plastics are not transparent, so they will not give the entry to the sunlight. Then they are opaque in nature. They are more flexible than your amorphous type of plastics, as well as they are less permeable to the gases and vapors. It means suppose you are using the crystalline plastics, so they will not permit the gases as well as vapor from outside to the inner side and from inner side to the outside. As well as crystalline plastics are, we can say, non-toxic, or they are inert in nature compared to the amorphous types of plastics. Now depending on your requirement and depending on your type of drug or the nature of the drug, you may select the as either amorphous or the crystalline type of plastics. Then these are the analogs or the derivatives of your plastics. Generally, your plastics are made up of polyethylene, polypropylene, polyvinyl chloride, polystyrene, polymethyl methacrylate, amino formaldehyde, and polyamides. So there are so many derivatives are available nowadays, and depending on our requirements, we are taking the particular type of plastics. Then another types of plastics are thermoplastic as well as the thermosettling type of plastics. On heating, thermoplastic type of plastics are getting softened, and to the viscous fluid they get hardened again on the cooling. For example, your polyethylene, PVC, polystyrene, polypropylene, and polyamide as well as the polycarbonate. So these derivatives, when we are heating, generally they will get softened and they may form the viscous fluid if we are heating them up to the particular temperature, or they may get melt and form the viscous type of liquid. As soon as we cool it, they will get again hardened. So this kind of plastics are called as the thermoplastic, and examples are polyethylene, polyvinyl polystyrene, polypropylene. Then thermosettling type of plastics are there. Generally, this kind of thermoplastic type, when we are getting heated, then they will become flexible, but they cannot melt easily. And examples are phenol formaldehyde, urea formaldehyde, melamine formaldehyde. So this kind of plastics are there. They are called as the thermosettling type of plastics. Now, one by one, we'll see their specificity. If you are using the polyethylene, then what will be the advantages as well as the what will be the speciality of your polyethylene type of plastics. Polyethylene types of plastics are flexible in nature. They are very light in weight and they are tough type of plastics. They will not be easily broken down. Then polyethylene are impermeable to the water vapor as well as they are not deteriorate with the age. It means they are having a very long life. But when they are exposing to the sunlight, generally they will get deteriorated. So it means polyethylene is required to be protected from the sunlight. Then polyethylene has permeability to the certain oils and preservatives. It means suppose we are packing any product into the polyethylene type of material, so certain type of oils can be penetrated from that container to the outside, as well as some types of preservatives are there. They are also having the entry from your container. It means they can cross that wall of plastics container. Then melting point is within the range of 110 degrees centigrade to 150 degrees centigrade. Generally, the melting point of polyethylene is high, so this kind of polyethylene type of containers as well as closures we can use for those products which are required the autoclaving by the sterilization by the autoclave. So at the higher temperatures of autoclave, your polyethylene type of container may be stable because their temperature range is 150 degrees centigrade. So we can use for the sterilization process by the autoclave. Generally, polyethylene are having the two types, that is the high density polyethylene and low density polyethylene. Depending on density, we have categorized them into the two types. Generally, high density type of polyethylene are inert in nature, they are having the low cost and they are tough in nature. And the low density type of polyethylene are inert in nature, great resistance to the gases, and there is the low cost. So these are the types as well as specifications of the polyethylene. Then polyvinyl chloride, PVC. It is less flexible, heavier and more permeable to the water vapor as compared to the normal polyethylene. So this kind of PVC type of material we cannot use to the sensitive type of preparation, especially for the volatile type of products we cannot use the polyvinyl type of preparation containers. Generally they are used for the eye ointment tubes. Then polymethyl metoacrylate, shortly it is called as the PMMA, polymethyl metoacrylate. So it is hard, strong and transparent plastic. It softens at 100 degrees centigrade. It is used for the preparing the bottles and tubes. Then polystyrene is there. It is hard, rigid as well as light material. It can be easily molded into the any shape. It is used for the preparation of bottles, tubes, jars, boxes and the syringes. So they are called as the polystyrenes. Then polypropylene. These polypropylene are used as your previous type of plastics. It is similar to the high density polyethylene. It is very light as well as heat resistant. Its melting point is 170 degrees centigrade and it has high melting point and can be sterilized by the autoclave. Generally it is used to prepare the squeeze type of bottles, tubes as well as the syringes. Then polycarbonates are there. It is transparent and has high impact strength and very good heat resistance. Generally it is used for the preparation of surgical instruments like your saline tubes. Then advantages of your plastics. Compared to the glass, plastics are having the different types of particular advantages. As compared to the glass, they are light in weight as well as they can handle easily. But in case of glass, we have to take care while handling. Very carefully we have to handle the glass. Otherwise, breakage is possible. Plastics are having another advantage that they are transported easily because of the light in weight. Then they are flexible in nature and they are unbreakable in nature. Plastics are available in various shapes as well as the size, and they are resistant to the inorganic chemicals. So these are the advantages of the plastics. Disadvantages of the plastics. Compared to the glass, your plastics are not having that much intactness. They can permit the water vapors from our inner side of the container to the outside. Generally, plastics are poor conductor of the heat. They are having the ability to absorb the some chemical substances from the product. It means suppose you are storing the liquid dosage form, then from the liquid dosage form some amount of drug or some amount of preservative may be absorbed by your plastic type of material. Then plastics are relatively expensive compared to their glass. Then drug plastic considerations. Generally, while choosing the plastic as a dosage form, as a container and as well as for the closure purpose, then we should think about the some particular type of consideration regarding your drug and plastic reactions. Then there are the 5 types of generally process may takes place if you are using the plastic as a container. First process is the permeation, or the second is the leaching, then sorption, chemical reaction and alteration. So what are these kind of process and how they are affect on the your choice of plastics? Now what is mean by permeation? Permeation is the nothing but the transmission of the gases, vapors as well as the in the form of we can say liquid. Some amount of material is passing from your container to the outside. Suppose you are keeping your suspension, solution or emulsion inside your plastic container, then sometimes because of the heat, some amount of your solution may pass from your container to the outside. It in the form of vapor or in the form of gases, it may go from your container. Alternate, you can say indirectly, we are losing some amount of product from your container. So this is called as the permeation. It means your glasses are not having that kind of property, but your plastics are having the permeation type of property. So they permit the transmission of the gases or the vapors of your product. Generally, the volatile ingredients might change when stored into the plastic containers, because volatile containers are having the ability to get volatile, to become volatile and to release in the form of gas. Suppose we are storing the such kind of volatile ingredients inside the plastic containers, then what will happen? Suddenly their amount will be reduced inside your container. Sometimes oxygen may enter inside your container from the outside and it may react with your product. Sometimes oxidation may be possible, or sometimes hydrolysis is also possible, because your plastics are having the ability to permit the transmission of gases as well as vapors from outside to the inside as well as from inside to the outside. Then leaching. Then what is meant by leaching? Leaching means transmission of the some amount of your container into your product, or some ingredients of your container or some part of your container may get dissolved inside your product. So when you are preparing suppose any kind of liquid dosage form and storing into the plastic container, then slowly that plastic will retain some amount of its plastic inside your product. So it is called as the leaching. Then sorption. Sorption is involves the removal of constituents from the drug product by the packaging material. Or simply we can say your container will take some amount of your product inside the your container, or your product will be absorbed inside your container. That is called as the sorption. Here it is little bit we can say vice versa. Leaching means some amount of container is taken by your product, and sorption means some amount of product is taken by your container. So this is called as the sorption. Generally, in case of plastics, sorption will be takes place as well as the leaching is also takes place. And these both the process are not suitable or they are not safe for us. Then chemical reactivity. Sometimes your plastic may get reacted with your product and they may cause the toxicity or they may form the third substance which is maybe not suitable to the patient or it may be a toxic in nature. Then modification. Modification means what? Changes occurred into your plastic type. Generally, when we are storing for the longer days, your plastic will get modified. So some chemical reactions or the physical reaction may take place because of the environmental condition, and the molecular structure of your plastic will get changed, or simply the form of plastic will get changed because of the longer storage condition, because of the environmental factors. Now the metals. This is the another type of material generally we are using to prepare your various kind of containers. Generally, metals are commonly used in the purpose for the aluminum type of containers, tin plated containers, steel type of container, stainless steel containers, as well as in case of lead type of container. So wherever high pressure is exist or wherever we require the tough material, so in that case we have to use the metals as a material for the preparation of your container, because metal are having the versatile advantages. First advantage is that they are not we can say permit the any kind of gas, any kind of vapor, any kind of moisture as well as light from outside to the inside container, as well as from inside the container they will not allow to pass the gases as well as the any kind of vapor. Metal containers are very rigid in nature, they are very tough in nature, and they are unbreakable compared to the plastics as well as compared to the your glass. They are, we can compare we can manufacturing them into the lightweight also. If we are selected the aluminum material, then we can make them into the, we can say lightweight material also. Then we can print the label directly on the surface of the metal also. So there is no need of the utilization of the page. Directly we can print on the surface of the metal. As well as the metallic tubes are not having the any kind of sorption or the leaching type of mechanism. So they are safe compared to the your plastics. Now disadvantages of the metals. The disadvantage include that your metallic containers are expensive compared to the plastics and as well as glass. Then some type of metals may react with the acidic as well as the basic type of preparation. Sometimes corrosion may be possible if we are using the any kind of aqueous type of material for the longer period. Then the plastic tubes, suppose we are using plastic tubes in case of the you are supposed for the cream purpose, so immediately we can suck back if the extra dose is come out. But in case of plastics, there is no flexibility to the your metallic tubes, so there is no suck back mechanism is possible. Then collapsible tubes. Now collapsible tubes are made up of the your various kind of aluminum type of material, and sometimes we are using nowadays plastics also for the preparation of the collapsible tubes. Generally collapsible tubes are previously we are preparing by using the metallic containers or the metallic materials. Generally these collapsible tubes are prepared for the filling of your ointments as well as the creams. Generally these collapsible metals or the collapsible tubes are light in weight and they are unbreakable. Now tin. Tin are used to prepare the wide mouth containers, especially for the ointment purpose. We can use your tin. tin is the chemically inert in nature. Then aluminums are lightweight, as well as they are not having any kind of corrosion action, as well as they are safe compared to the other type of metallic material, and they are attractive in nature, and easily they can be molded to required shape. Then lead. Lead has the lowest cost of compared to all the metals. Lead should never be used alone or anything taken inertly, because there is a risk of lead poisoning. Generally, if you there are also important part of your container and closure system. Under the your closures, we will see the types of your closures, how they are important for us, because as container holds your total material or your product, then the closure will close and it will not allow the any kind of foreign particle inside your product. So that's why closures are also important. Generally, they prevent your content from the escaping, and they will not allow the loss of your product, and they will avoid the entry of various kind of substances, foreign particles, microbes into your container. There are various kind of closures: the screw type, threaded type, as well as cream type, press on, roll on, and pilfer proof type of closures. Now, what are the threaded screw cup? When we are placing your thread, your closure, which is having the thread, they are called as the threaded type of screw cap. Generally, for the your oral type of suspension solution, cup syrups, so that kind of bottles are having the threaded type of screw cap. Generally, we have to add the inner liner to your closure to avoid the pilferage or the passes of gases or the your volatile material from the container. Then lug cap is there. This lug cap is not having the thread. Simply we have to press it from the above your container, and it will be locked inside your container. So generally some grooves are provided through to fix your cap inside your container. It is called as the lug cap. Generally, sometimes we are making the threads, but the threads are interrupted, means that threads are not continuing. So this kind of caps are called as the lug caps. Then crown caps are there. Crown caps are called, we can say, just crimped on the your surface of your bottles, and with the help of machines we have to fix them, as well as inner lines like rubbers are used from the inner side of that closure, and once we are opening them, then they cannot be reclosed. And for the your we can say your Coca-Cola type of your beverages are there, so they are having the such kind of crown caps. So single time we have to open it, and then they cannot be reclosed. Then roll-on closures are there. Then under the roll-on closures, we are having the aluminum type of roll-on cap. They can be sealed very securely, and they can easily open and release effectively. Generally, once we are opening them, then they will produce the proof that once that bottle is opened, so we cannot, we can say, we can close it, but that label on the your closure will be teared out. Then pilfer proof closures are there. Such kind of closures are there. They are called as pilfer proof. Then closure liners. Closure liners are nothing but the such material which is we are adding to the your container for the, we can say, avoiding the removal of the gases. These closure liners we are using to avoid the removal of the vapors as well as the, we can say, gases from your container, or to give the tight we can say closeness to your closure, we have to use the closure liners. as well as these closure liners will avoid the direct contact of your product with your closure. Sometimes we are using the aluminum type of closure or we are using the metallic type of closure. So to avoid the corrosion or to avoid the reaction with your closure, we have to use the inner liners, which are generally we are preparing by using the different kind of plastic type of material. There are two types of closure liners are there, homogeneous liner and heterogeneous liners. Homogeneous liners are, we can say, one piece liner which are available as a disc shape or the ring shape. Then heterogeneous liners are composed of layers of different material. Generally one by one we have to place the material layers and we have to cut into the disc shape. So such kind of liners we are using to avoid the, we can say, pilferage, avoid the leakage, as well as to avoid the passes of the gases from the closures. So these are the very important type of material in the your container and closure system. Then rubbers are there. Rubber is used mainly for the construction of closure and for the we can say closing of the your especially vials. So these rubbers are used. Generally we are using the butyl rubbers. Butyl rubbers are having the, we can say, versatile advantages. There are, we can say, water absorption is very low by your rubbers. Generally they are relatively cheaper than your synthetic type of rubbers. Disadvantage of butyl rubber is that they show slow decomposition above the 130 degree centigrade. Oil and solvent resistance is not very good. So this kind of disadvantages are there to the rubbers. Generally, these rubbers, when we are using for the multiple dose of injection purpose, so at that time we require such kind of rubber closure. So many times we can prick this kind of rubbers, but they will reclose the bottles or the vials. Then nitrile rubbers are there. Generally, they are having the different content. They are having the oil resistance as well as they are containing the nitrile group and they are heat resistant. So such kind of nitrile rubbers nowadays we are using. Disadvantage of nitrile rubber is that absorption of bactericide and leaching of the extractives are considerable. It means they can absorb some material from your product also, and sometimes they can release their own nitrile inside your product. Then chlorophene rubbers are also there. They are oil resistance and their heat stability is very good. So they are called chlorophene rubbers. Then silicone rubbers are there. Nowadays, silicone rubbers are also popular. They are very high resistance to the heat and extremely there is low absorption as well as there is no permeability of the water vapor from the inside to the outside. Then they are excellent aging characteristics. So they will not decompose at the age and they are very expensive in nature. That is the disadvantage. Generally for the vaccine, sera, in case of laboratory tests, we are using the silicone rubbers. Then